What's up, sisters? This is your boy, Beef, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we have one of the most OP builds I've ever made for Baldur's Gate 3, and we're going to be doing it with the modded Spellblade School, which is available for PC and console. This build is also going to be using some spells from the Mystra's spell mod, which is also available on console, but by no means do you have to. There are plenty of vanilla spells to substitute, and that we'll go over when we get there. Either way, the Spellblade School Wizard subclass mod is legitimately overpowered. It's not balanced by any means, and definitely feeds more into that power fantasy that you sometimes want. The subclass is also powerful enough that you could probably solo the game with it. Before we get too far into it, I just wanted to thank you all for watching. If you like this build, let me know by liking the video or commenting what you do differently, and subscribe to the channel for more modded build videos like this. Without further ado, let's hop right on into it. Starting at level 1, we're going to take our first level into Wizard. This build is going to multi-class into Fighter for 2 levels, so you could potentially start as a Fighter if you wanted to wear heavy armor, but I like early level Wizard play, so I'm going to start there. We have a choice of 3 cantrips, and the one that we are going to want to pick today is Firebolt, Mage Hand, and Green Flame Blade. So Green Flame Blade is available to use the cantrip because we have the Mystra spell mod enabled, but this cantrip is going to do a weapon attack that imbues itself with fire damage that spreads to other enemies and is a favorite from tabletop D&D. It says here attack the target with dealing a bonus 0 fire damage. It says 0, but it actually has a real number in the game. If the attack lands and you remain stationary, you can spend Green Flame to burn another nearby creature for 3 fire damage. I don't know why it says 3 and 0. It's weird. It's a weird tooltip, but it does damage to the enemy that you hit and then spreads damage to a nearby enemy, which is really great. Get some AoE off of it. This is going to be an excellent addition to this build because it's also going to trigger a very unique bonus from a piece of gear we will eventually be getting, and it will also allow us to make use of one of the abilities that we're going to get at level 6. For our spells, we're going to want to start with taking Burning Hands. This one does 3d6 fire damage, kind of in a cones. This is really great because we want to do fire damage. That's kind of what our build is kind of based around. We are a full-on Pyromancer. So we're going to take Burning Hands. It's our first fire spell. We're also going to take Shield because it's really great to be able to have that extra defense. It allows us to use a reaction to raise our armor class by 5. And so one of the things that this subclass is going to do really well is we're going to get an extra reaction. And so we're going to have a ton of different uses for our reaction. We're going to have this. We're going to have a couple different ways to be able to negate damage. We're also going to take Mage Armor because these early levels are probably going to be wearing clothing and not light armor. We're also going to take Long Strider, because Long Strider is really great to have on any character. It's a ritual spell, so you can cast it. It doesn't use any spell slots. In the same way, we're also going to grab Featherfall, because it's really great to have. It says there are spell slots, but it doesn't. It costs a ritual, so you can do it for free as long as you have it prepared. We are also going to take Thunderwave, because that one can also be really beneficial. Actually, no, instead of Thunderwave, we're going to take Grease. Grease is a really great spell, and it works very well on this build, considering we're going to be doing a lot of fire damage. So at least in the early game, we're going to be able to put down Grease and then do fire damage, and it'll do extra fire damage and make the ground catch on fire, and then just it's a really great spell for the slow kind of early level play. For our ability scores, we're going to be dumping Strength and Charisma. We don't really need these abilities very often, especially as a wizard, so we're going to go ahead and just go for 8s in both of them so we can spend all of our points on things that we do need. Specifically, we're going to put a +2 and a +1 into Intelligence and Dexterity. Intelligence is our main spellcasting modifier, so we want this to be as high as possible. If you're going to go for the hair, then go ahead and make it a 17, but for the purpose of this build, I'm going to keep it at 16. I'm also going to put 16 into Dexterity, because we're going to be a little bit of a squishy kind of character. So we want to have the extra initiative and armor class that we get from that. We want to go for 14 Constitution to have as much health as we possibly can. We're going to want our Wisdom to be 12. And that pretty much does it for that. For our skill proficiencies, there's not really a lot of great things we have access to. We could take some of these ones to bump them up to a +3, but it's okay. I prefer to go with Perception because there's a lot of perception rolls around the map. And then this one, you don't really have a ton of options for your expertise, but Investigation is good for some things, and Insight is also good for a few different rolls throughout the game, mostly in conversation. So at level 2, we are going to get our subclass, and obviously we are going to go with the Spellblade subclass. It says here, wizards of the Spellblade school dance between magic and the edge of a blade, embodying both grace and lethality. Mastering timing and finesse, their blades flash with the power of arcane energy, swift and unpredictable. Two of the things that we're going to get here are really powerful. Actually, everything that we're getting here is super, super powerful. But the first thing is called Mind's Eye, and this is probably the single most powerful thing that this build is going to have. The things you get are your opportunity attacks are made with advantage. Really awesome. It means that anytime that you're making an opportunity attack, you get advantage on it. Automatically attack an enemy moving in and out of your reach. And additionally, you gain an extra reaction each turn. So that's three of the most very powerful things you can get in the game. The first two are basically the Sentinel feat that you're just getting for free at level 2 as part of your wizard subclass. You can cast spells and you can also be a Sentinel. And then you also gain an extra reaction, so then you can do that a second time. Or because we have the shield spell and a bunch of other things that we can use. Specifically, we get finesse weapon parry. When wielding a finesse weapon and not wearing a shield, you can use your reaction to parry the next weapon attack. We have a bunch of reactions, so we can then use our weapon to also parry the attack if we want to, and reduce the damage by our wizard class level equal to your, so we're going to be able to do a maximum of 10 eventually. The other thing that we're going to get is Swift Magic Weapon, and this is probably one of the most powerful spells I've ever seen. It's going to give us a +3 to weapon attack and damage rolls, but it doesn't take an action. It says here, infuse a weapon with arcane energy, the weapon becomes magical, receiving a +3 bonus to attack and damage rolls. It says always prepared, level 1 spell slot, and it lasts for 10 turns. It doesn't cost any action. We could just pop it at the beginning of combat, and we have an immediate +3 on top of whatever we already had. This is incredibly powerful. And make sure that we're always going to be able to hit our attacks and do a lot of damage when we do them. So at level 2, we're also going to grab 2 more spells. And at this point, we could take something like Chromatic Orb or Magic Missile. We could also take something like Protection from Evil and Good, or Thunder Wave. It's really up to you, whatever utility or damage your party needs at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and take Chromatic Orb and Magic Missile just for fun. At level 3, we're going to get 2 more spells, and during the early game here, I recommend taking something like Mirror Image or Misty Step. These are just going to help you be a little bit more kind of defensive and mobile. Especially at level 3, you're going to need to be a very... there's a lot of things that want to kill you, and you don't have very much health at this level. So Mirror Image is going to create 3 illusory duplicates of yourself. Distract attackers, each duplicate increases your armor class by 3. So when you pop this spell, you're going to gain 9 to your armor class almost immediately, or pretty much immediately. And then it's going to, they disappear after 10 turns, or they also disappear when you get attacked and there's a miss. Misty Step is also really good, because it's just going to let you teleport wherever you want using a bonus action and a level 2 spell slot. If you're in the thick of danger and you're about to die, Misty Step out of there and you're gone. These are just going to help you stay alive because you're still pretty squishy, like I've said. At level 4, we're going to pick 2 more spells, and at this time we're going to take Scorching Ray. This is one of our main fire spells, and it's going to constitute pretty much most of our damage. It does 66 fire damage. It hurls 3 rays of fire, and each ray deals 2 to 12. So basically, each one does 2d6, and you just kind of choose them. It's kind of like Magic Missile or what do you call it? Or Eldritch Blast. In that way, you get 3 rays that you can shoot. You could also take another fire spell, like Agonazer's Scorcher. This one is from the Mystra spell mod, and is really cool because it kind of like Lightning Bolt in shape, but it does shorter range fire damage in a line instead of a cone. It's just nice to be able to control the shape of the fire that you're using to damage enemies, because sometimes you don't want to do a full-sized cone that's really wide. You might only want to do it in a specific area, so it's really nice to be able to just have a little bit of variety in your shape of your fire attacks. We're also going to pick a feat, and at this point, you have 2 options. You can either go for an ability improvement and get a +2 to your intelligence, or you could take the alert feat. If you're on honor mode or doing solo, I definitely recommend taking the alert feat. If you're not, then you could go with the ability improvement. I'm going to take alert just because it's a really great one to have. Alright, so at level 5, we're going to get access to 3rd level spells, which are a huge step up in power for us. We have a lot of options competing for our 2 spots that we can get. And if you're using Mystra spells, you have even more. So if you're using Mystra spells, you could try something like a Chardalon's Pride. This is a really interesting spell that I haven't really done myself, but it's It has a very small amount of damage, 1d6, but it's because you kind of imbue yourself with an aura. It's a concentration. You surround yourself by with billowing flames that burn creatures within 2 meters for 1 to 6 fire damage. This could have really good uses for like the heat mechanics. It also increases your movement speed by 6 meters, and moving no longer provokes opportunity attacks. That could be really powerful for this build because you're very mobile. But I'm not sure if I'm going to take this yet. Oh, because we also have access to things like Fireball, and we get there's just a ton of things in here that we could use. But there are 2 things that we want to get immediately as soon as we get these, and they are Haste and Counterspell. These are 2 really powerful abilities that are just going to help us become. They're going to give us a really big boost in power. Counterspell is as soon as you can get it, I recommend taking it always, and Haste same deal. We really want to take Fireball, but we'll take it next time, I promise. Okay, so at level 6, this build is going to fully come online. We are going to get access to our new ability called Spellblade Flurry. After casting a spell, you can make a melee attack as a bonus action. So this is basically going to give us the reverse version of the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel, but with any spell that we have. We cast a spell, and then we make a melee attack. Basically, this just means that we are still a full-on Pyromancer, who just also takes out his weapon and stabs people afterwards. And if you get close enough, you're going to get stabbed too, which is really cool. We're both a very powerful Pyromancer and also a very powerful stabber. I don't know really what the term for that would be, but you know what I mean. So at this point, we are going to grab 2 spells, and we are going to grab Fireball. Yeehaw, one of my favorite spells in the game, and one of my favorite spells in tabletop too. It's a classic 8d6 fire damage in a huge range. It's got a big AoE, and it does a ton of damage. What more can you ask? And you know what? I think I'm going to go... I can't really decide on anything else in here, so I think I'm going to try a Chardalon's Pride. That one sounds fun. Or Stride. At level 7, we're going to get access to 4th level spells. And what we want here is to take Wall of Fire specifically. Wall of Fire is just a really nice concentration spell. It lays down a big wall of fire. Boom. This is going to then activate our bonus action attacks. And it's also going to activate one of our items that is going to give us an extra attack, which is really cool. You could also take something here that is part of the Mystra spell mod. It's called a Web of Fire. It's a new spell that does 5 streaks of fire snake towards different enemies. Each streak deals 8 to 48 damage. Can focus all streaks on one enemy for 12 to 72 fire damage instead. So it's really cool. You can do it as kind of like a, it's I don't really know how to explain it. It's kind of a, you can use it like Scorching Ray, or you can use it like Fireball, but single target, so it's really cool. Either way, we're gonna go ahead and take it because it's a really cool fire spell, and we love doing fire damage because it also, even when we lay down our Wall of Fire here, we can cast this and do more fire damage on top of it, and triggering our bonus actions. At level 8, we're gonna get 2 more spells, and this time we're gonna grab Fire Shield. This is a really great spell because it is going to wreath your body in flames that shed light in a 3-meter radius, provide resistance to fire or cold damage, and retaliate against melee attacks. This is really cool because we're going to be able to just pop this as an action and then do an attack afterwards. So this is really great to put up at the beginning of combat as a little buff to be able to do some knockback damage to enemies that try to attack us. It does between 4 and 32 of our choice, either fire damage or cold damage. We're going to go with fire because that's kind of what our build is all about. We're also going to take Confusion here because it's a really great spell. Sometimes it's really great to have crowd control. This one is one of the best ones to have in the game. Confuse a group of creatures, causing them to attack at random, wander around aimlessly, and occasionally skip turns in their stupor. Really, a really great crowd control spell to have to be able to just shut down the enemies and then go in with your fire spells. We're also going to get access to a new feat at this point, and I think at level 8 is a great time to take an ability score improvement so we can get a +2 into our intelligence. If you got the hair and you started with a 17, then you now have an intelligence score of 18, or of 20. But if you're me, you have 18. So ideally 20 is what we want to have because we'll get that +5 to all of our attack rolls and things like that. But we have such a great bonus from our Swift Magic weapon that we don't really need it that badly. So 18 is kind of acceptable on this build. Okay, so at level 9, we're going to open ourselves up to level 5 spells. And one of the level 5 wizard spells from the Mystra spell mod is perfect for this build and is really, really cool. And that spell is Summon Draconic Spirit. Call forth the spirit of a powerful chromatic dragon to assist you. While within 18 meters, you gain resistance to the dragon's primary element. So this is going to allow us to summon a big red dragon that we can use in battle, and it's super powerful, and when you're within 18 meters of it, you get resistance to fire damage, which is awesome because you're about to start burning yourself a lot, especially with this hat that I'm wearing here. It's going to burn you when you do your fire damage. So when you're burning, you're going to want to take less of that fire damage. So it's great to have that resistance and not have to get that from a weapon at this point or a different item. You could also take something like Conjure Elemental if you want to, and actually that's really nice to have because you can summon a fire elemental, and that kind of blends well with the build and adds another summon for us to have for more aggro. So we're going to take both of those. You could also grab something here like Immolation. Point at the target and set them alight, dealing 8 to 48 fire damage and immolating every turn. This is from the Mystra spell mod, and this is a really cool spell that does some cool stuff. Does some cool stuff. It does a ton of fire damage and has a long-lasting effects that do even more fire damage on further turns afterwards. At level 10, our weapon parry is going to get a level up that brings it up to par with the Abjuration Wizard's Arcane Wards. It doesn't stack as well or have the same utility as the Arcane Ward because you can't put it on someone else, but it defends you with the same amount of damage mitigation that is really great. Also get Spellblade, which is going to add a ton of extra damage to our weapon attacks. It's really awesome. When wielding a finesse weapon and not wearing armor or a shield, you gain a +0 bonus to attack rolls and deal additional magical damage equal to your intelligence modifier with 4 different damage types. Now, even though I'm wearing light armor here, I've seen the damage types pop up, so I'm pretty sure it still does damage. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna have to test that in combat, but we'll see afterwards. We're also going to get 2 more spells, and at this point you can kind of grab whatever you want. We have access to Immolation. I'm going to grab that because I want to take more fire damage. You could also, if you wanted to play around with some more of these Mystra spell mod, you could. Pyrotechnic sounds fun and kind of matches with the build. Choose to create fireworks that blind or smoke that heavily obscures. Really cool. I'm actually going to take that because I've never used it, and it sounds like a lot of fun because Pyrotechnic just sounds cool. So, because at this point, what we're going to do is we are going to take a level of fighter. Instead of going for level 6 spells, we are going to sacrifice our level 6 spells and take 2 levels of fighter. So we are going to go up here and add a class and get fighter. At this point, you could also respec and start as fighter and take the first 2 levels of fighter and then finish with 10 levels of Spellblade. And that would give you access to heavy armor. And you definitely could, but with this specific armor that I'm running, we don't need it. So I won't be doing it here. What we're going to get out of the fighter class is for the first thing we're going to get is a fighting style. You could do whatever you want here. You could choose either defense to get a +1 bonus to armor class while wearing armor, or you could go with dueling when you're wielding a melee weapon that is not two-handed or versatile in one hand and no weapon in the other. You deal an additional 2 damage with that weapon. I'm going to pick this one because it's going to give us some extra damage that is going to be doubled by this armor that we're wearing here. So it's going to give us an extra 4 damage just in for every attack. So that's really awesome, just to get a bunch of extra damage on every hit. And then finally, at Fighter level 2, we're going to get Action Surge. And that's it. That's all the leveling. Fighter levels are really easy. You don't get very much, but what you get is really good. Immediately gain an extra action to use this turn. You can just pop this in combat and give yourself an extra action, which you can then turn into more bonus actions because you can then turn it into more spells. So you'll see how powerful it is when we get there. Okay, so let's take a minute to talk about gear and equipment. So with this build, we are going to be using the Pyro Quickness hat. This is a hat that is actually in the base game and is something that I really wanted to find a way to make a build around that made sense for a long time. And the Spellblade school actually gave me a really powerful build to be able to do that. The main ability here is when you deal fire damage with a leveled spell, you burn yourself and gain an additional bonus action this round. The reason that that's so powerful for us is because we're going to be doing most of our attacks on our bonus action. So if we have another bonus action, we have another possible way to trigger another attack. This doesn't always happen. You have to do another spell to trigger the bonus action attack. But if you are able to get that other attack off, then you can just do 2 actions. You can do extra attack, which is really cool. We're also going to go with the Vivacious Cloak. Arcane Vivaciousness, you gain 8 temporary hit points after casting a spell while in melee. This synergizes really well with our build because we're going to be in melee a lot, and we're going to be casting melee spells a lot. So if we're in melee and we're casting a spell, we're going to get 8 temporary hit points, which will then help us to kind of deflect even more damage in addition to our weapon parries. We're also going to use the Ballast armor. This is an armor that you really can only get if you're playing an evil playthrough and you become an unholy assassin of Baal at the end of the game, or near the end of the game. If you don't want to run this, you could run something different, like you could use the Robe of the Weave and incorporate mage armor into your build. You could also use something like the Elegant Studded Leather. This is a really good one that also gives you access to shield. You could use the Icebite Robe to get Armor of Agathis. This is really great. It's not fire, but it is a very good clothing to use. Or you could use the Infernal Robe, which gets you Fire Shield Warm and gives you your resistance to fire damage and gives you a +1 to bonus action. But this one is also pretty evil to get. The only way to get this one is to kill Karlach. So you might not want to do that. But yeah. I'm going to go with the Ballast armor because I have found you can do that without doing a fully evil run. You just have to do something pretty nasty. We are also going to take the Helldust gloves because with these we are going to gain a +1 bonus to spell attack rolls and spell save DC. Really great. This is something that kind of plays into two of our abilities. They're good for doing this kind of Spellblade type damage because it gives us spell attack stuff, and also your weapon attacks deal additional 1d6 fire damage. We're going to do an extra fire damage with our attacks. Unarmed attacks deal additional 1d6 necrotic damage. We won't be doing unarmed attacks, so whatever. It also gives us access to a Raise of Fire cantrip, and gives us a +1 to strength saving throws. That's not super powerful for us, because our strength saving I mean, it gets us back to 0, I guess, instead of -1, so that's nice. We're also going to use the Helldusk Boots. You cannot be forcibly moved by a foe's spells or actions, and you ignore the effects of difficult terrain. When you fail a saving throw, you may use your reaction to succeed instead. And Hellcrawler, Infernal Evasion, is also really great because when you fail a saving throw, you may use your reaction to succeed instead. That's freaking awesome. A free success on a saving throw. This character is also a really good candidate for the Amulet of Greater Health because as a wizard, you're pretty squishy, so it's nice to be able to get a plus to bring your Constitution up to 23 and get yourself up to 126 health total, which is really awesome. You could also use it's nice to be able to swap in the Spellcrux, or not, where is it? Yeah, the Spellcrux amulet, to be able to use Arcane Recovery and regenerate some spell slots for yourself, because you don't have a ton of them, so it's nice to be able to just bring them back. And the same with Marco Heshgear. If you have it around, you could use that for that purpose. This build is also going to make use of the Ring of Arcane Synergy, because when you deal damage with a cantrip, you gain Arcane Synergy for 2 turns. What Arcane Synergy does is weapon attacks deal additional damage equal to affected entity spellcasting ability modifier. So this is going to mean that our weapon attacks are then going to do extra damage, and what this means for our build is, as an action, we could use Green Flame Blade to do 1d8 plus 8 piercing damage. So the Ballast armor is going to make your enemies vulnerable to piercing damage, which is then going to be done by the Green Flame Blade doing 1d8 plus 8 piercing damage times 2, plus 1d4 necrotic, plus 1d6 fire, plus, and then another 2d8 fire. So you're going to be doing a ton of damage, that is then going to become an AoE, and because this counts as casting a spell with your action, it's going to activate doing... Wait, no, it's not.
The lesson is death. Funny, do you?
Oh, yeah. Then since this counts as using a fire spell to do an attack, because you're doing an attack, but it is still a spell that is doing fire damage, it's going to trigger our or doesn't even have to be fire damage because it's a spell. It's going to trigger our bonus action attack. So it's basically just going to give us extra attack with our bonus action, which is really cool. It turns us into a fire sword marshal, which is really awesome. We can also do all these other different fire spells if we want to trigger the same thing and do crazy damage. But basically, Green Flame Blade is our bread and butter here for just doing a bananas amount of damage, 13 to 42 per hit, plus the AoE on it. And because that's a cantrip, it's going to be dealing damage with it and giving us Arcane Synergy for 2 turns. And so when we build up those stacks of Arcane Synergy, it's going to be adding our spellcasting ability modifier to our weapon damage, so we're going to get even more damage that is then going to get doubled by the Aura of Murder. So it's just going to kind of feed into itself and create this feedback loop of tons and tons of damage. We're also going to be able to use Fire Shield to trigger those things, those different effects, and it's going to be really cool. Well, we are also going to be using the Darkfire Shortbow to give us an extra +2 to weapon and enchantment, and also give us resistance to fire damage and cold damage, because we're not always going to have our dragon around. So it's good to have that fire damage resistance from somewhere else too. But the weapon is going to really be the centerpiece of this build is the Duelist's Prerogative. This one is a legendary weapon that you can get by completing the Save Vanra quest and in the lower city of Baldur's Gate. And the abilities for it are really great. While your offhand is empty, you score a critical hit when rolling a 19. Moreover, you gain an additional reaction per turn. So we already have an additional reaction from our subclass. So this is going to get us to 3 reactions, which is really powerful. And it's going to give us, or not 3, it's going to give us 2 reactions. Actually, no, it is going to give us 3 reactions, which is going to make us really, it's going to give us a ton of different options for how we want to use them. And we can use them for melee attacks. We can use them for defensive abilities. We can use them to just parry damage. We could also use it for Withering Cut. It said there, where was it? On the weapon, it said Withering Cut on a hit with a melee weapon, use a reaction to deal additional necrotic damage equal to your proficiency bonus. So you can either do a bunch of extra damage, or you can mitigate a bunch of damage, shield yourself from damage. It's really up to you what you do with it. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is first we're going to summon our elemental. And we're going to summon Fire Elemental, naturally. So we don't have 6th level spell slots, so we can only summon the Fire Elementals, no Myrmidons for us. Oh well. Because otherwise, we're going to be able to summon a Draconic Spirit, which we're going to do now, and we're going to summon a Red Dragon. This is really freaking sweet right here. Watch this. Boom! Now we have a dragon. How sweet is that? It only has 50 health, but that's okay. So one of the things that makes this dragon extra special is that it can't really walk around very much, unless you disguise it. And this character, this spell matches really well with Gale, because when you disguise as a dragon, you turn into a Tressum, which is Gale's pet. Gale's pet Tara is a Tressum. So you can effectively just spawn Tara in as your companion, who is also a super scary dragon. How awesome is that? It's perfect for a Gale run, doing this kind of fire build. You can do this with any dragon spirit. They all turn into the Tressum. But you can especially do this, I like it with this fire build one here. And it also, look at that, she looks so funny there. I love this. This is so much. I'm a cat person, you can tell by my cat in the background there. But I love this. So that's pretty much the gist of the starting. We're going to switch back over to our character here. But now we are going to go ahead and get started with some combat. And to start, I am going to initiate combat with a nice big green flame blade to the face.
You were witnessed assaulting someone. You're headed for the cell.
Alright, and so you can see we get Withering Cut. I'm not going to do it because I don't need to. Oh, there's Tara. Tara turned back into a red Draconic Spirit with 50 health. She's bright and strong, and our enemies are terrified of us now because we have a big dragon. Where the hell did that come from? So because we started combat by using a spell, we now get our bonus action, and because we have our bonus action, we are our bonus action is allowing us to use to do a melee attack with it, and because the green flame blade counts as a melee attack, we are going to go ahead and use that. Critical hit. Look at all that damage. You can see even in there, that was what I thought. Even though we're wearing light armor, we're still doing all that extra elemental damage from our level 10 Spellblade ability. I'm not going to do that one. So now this guy's dead. We are now going to use Action Surge. We're going to activate. We didn't even have our Swift Magic Weapon activated. Let's go ahead and do that. That one didn't cost one of our actions, and it didn't cost. It only cost a level 1 spell slot. And now we have an extra +3 to attack and damage rolls. So we killed that guy without even having this active. What we're going to do now is we're going to use Fireball on these 4 guys, just because why the hell not? We want to use a fire spell, a leveled fire spell, because that's going to give us another bonus action. With our Pyro Quickness hat, it's also going to burn us, but that's okay, because we have another bonus action, and now we're going to use that bonus action to attack, which we can do Green Flame Blade. Tons of damage. No react, because I want to save. Oh, that guy's just one shot, he's dead. Okay, let's move up here. Oh, I forgot to not move. We could have done the AoE damage, but that's okay. This guy's attacking. Enhanced Weapon Finesse Parry. There we go. 4 damage. That's not so bad. We can use Shield. Yes. Now that shield's going to last through the rest of the turn. And enhanced finesse weapon parry. Okay, so that took out our temporary hit points. Gave us that little boost. Ow! I skipped over the dragon on accident. We'll see him next time. Oh no, I skipped over the fire elemental. Okay, I don't really care about that. You've seen what a fire elemental can do. So now we're gonna do, yeah, so you can see you can't walk over there, but what you can do is fly somewhere within range, and we are going to fly here. And now with our dragon, we can turn around. We can either do fire breath, but we're not going to because we don't want to hit our guy, but we can do a multi-attack. This is a really powerful multi-attack. And one of the best things about this is that our dragon's multi-attack does piercing damage. So if our character is within melee range and imposing the aura of murder, our dragon is also going to be doing double damage. 20, 22, 3, and 7. So our dragon, Tara, is going to be benefiting from our aura of murder. Alright, it's our turn again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to activate a fire shield because that is an awesome spell to have. And being a level fire spell, it's going to give us... Oh, it didn't give us our second bonus action. That's okay. We don't need it. We're going to do this. Another critical hit. Look at that. That guy got absolutely murked. Enhanced finesse weapon parry. Gosh, everybody wants to shoot me. I wonder why. Alright, now we have this guy. He's going to come on over here. And multi-attack. These things aren't... Oh my gosh. Well, I am getting crit after crit. What is happening here? These things aren't normally this powerful, but I'm having a great day with him here. Now we are... Actually, you know, let's go ahead and do this. Exude terror, instilling terror in your foes. Now he's fearful. That was all... Oh. Not entirely sure what happened there. But I'm going to parry everything. So we're going to use shield. I may have feared myself, if I'm being totally honest. I'm going to use this guy to zip up here. Now it's dragon's turn. We're going to have our dragon go ahead and fly over here. We don't want to kill the journalist. We want to kill this fist guy. How cool is that? That is so fun. Let's see. We are going to come over here
Step by step.
and aim a scorching ray. Level 2 is fine. Boom. And now since we have an extra bonus action, we can do a Misty Step. And then also still have our bonus action to use a melee attack. Tons of damage on that hit. And there we go. That's that. Oh, he killed him. And we get that parry. And we get that Inferno Resistance. And that weapon parry. Immune to Ensnared. Hallelujah, brother. Or should I say, sister. And we're going to have our dragon come on over here. Oh, look at that. He can fly up here. There we go. Gotta find the right spot, because he's so big. Sometimes she can take up a little bit of space, as you can see. But now we're within range. They hit him. Oh. Still a bunch of damage. Now we're going to have him come over here. And it's your turn, Gale. Let's try out one of these other spells. Let's do the Web of Fire. That sounds really fun. Let's do the single. Well, okay. Oh, and look at that. At the end of combat, we get Tara right back. Hi, Tara. Did you have fun? I had fun killing him. But either way, yeah, you can see this is how powerful this this Pyromancer can be. I'm gonna go ahead and turn Tara back into a dragon so we can see her here. Hell yeah. Yeah, this is how powerful this can be. It's very insane. I love it. But yeah, that just about does it for this Pyromancer Spellblade build using the modded Spellblade school subclass for the wizard. What do you think of the build? I had a ton of fun putting this one together, and I think it turned out really cool. If you think I should try something different, let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more build videos like this. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.